Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Monday, and all of our guests today, including Derek Lalonde standing by, are sponsored by Passant Motors. It's May Days at Passant, and they want to make sure you love your ride. Check them out at Passant Motors, BASANTmotors.com, and find a ride you'll love. We're joined now by Derek Lalonde, former head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, former Cortland State Red Dragon goaltender, two-time Stanley Cup champion as an assistant coach with the Tampa Bay Lightning. His resume goes on and on. Derek, thanks so much for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for throwing the Cortland State in there. I don't get that too often. Where in the heck is Cortland State? I get that quite often.
Well, it's in New York.
Appreciate that.
It's New York
Central New York, yeah, part of the SUNYAC, just outside of Syracuse there. And it's what you would call cold, really cold.
Hey, Derek, I mentioned you're an old goaltender, or a young goaltender.
Yeah,
I apologize for that.
Yes.
How do you explain what's going on with Stuart Skinner? He's either getting ventilated or getting a shutout.
No, I just got to talk about his game yesterday. He was the difference. You just look at the volume in the second period and what he did and the timing of it to get out of that period, basically giving up, one goal for, one goal against, and he was complete reason to keep them at 2-1, and then for McDavid to make that world's godly play. I don't think people appreciate how good that third goal is on so many levels. Just him entering the way he did, and then him winning a loose puck battle, tipping it to keep it alive, and then finishing it. But Skinner got him there. And the one thing with Edmonton, I've been so impressed with Edmonton. I'm probably no different than you guys.
Mm-hmm.
They were down 2-0,
yeah,
and the D-core looked what it looked like without Ekholm. It looked uncomfortable. I thought they were finished. And it is an unbelievable credit to everyone in that group, that team, that organization to turn it the way they did. And now if they can get some confidence goaltending, and I mean confidence goaltending, a night like Skinner had last night, you can just see it just put some confidence in the group. That's really scary because it's obviously a really good team clicking on a lot of cylinders, the depth scoring. I love how the D-course come around, but you get a performance like Skinner got last night. I feel he stole that game, especially in that second period. But just, again, the saves, but to keep them at 2-1, and then for them to get the third, and then the couple saves he made at 3-1,
mm-hmm.
and then they get the fourth one at 4-1. So that's a really good sign for the Edmonton Oilers, and it's a credit to Skinner to get his game in top form last night.
You mentioned giving credit to everybody. He's such a low-key guy. Do we give enough? Yeah. I'm talking to an old coach here, so I can imagine what you're going to say. Do we give enough credit to Chris Knobloch, especially after falling down 0-2 to L.A. early?
He deserves a ton of credit. One, the goaltending, obviously, his trust in both goaltenders. But what I really was impressed with, and obviously I did the first round for Sportsnet there, was watching that series real closely. And where he turned this series, and maybe their whole playoff destiny, was the way he used his depth. If you guys recall, it feels like forever now ago, but they were down 2-0. And they got into that game 3, and the depth he used in his overtime, and just the distribution of minutes, and he got his depth going. Everyone thinks it's so easy. Like, how can you not coach a team with the two best players in the world? But the way he's done it, he moves those guys around. You can see those two together with Perry at times. You can see those guys taking different lines at center. He gets those guys out in momentum situations after goals. But it's a credit to the depth, and those players have to get going around them. And it's a huge credit to Stan Bowman. It's not easy. It is, in some eyes, easy to build around two players like that. But you got to get the right players, and I think he's really done that. So I give him a lot of credit and the way he's got his depth going. I mean, Podkolzin in right now, Kapanen, the pace they're giving, the energy they're giving. They're playing very direct line hockey. Brown, couple times comes through the news now. He looks like a right-handed Connor McDavid at times, the way the pace he's playing at. So huge credit to him. He knows he's got the two best players in the world, and it's a huge luxury. I remember getting frustrated playing against them sometimes, and when those guys are playing 26 minutes and half the game almost, they have the two best players in the world. It's frustrating to play against as an opposing coach, but you got to do it the right way. And he certainly found a nice little formula here.
Hey, Derek, speaking of role players, there's one from Richmond, BC, in the Edmonton lineup, Troy Stecher. 17 minutes last night. His compete level is through the roof. It's nice to have a guy like that who wasn't playing regularly and all of a sudden dropped into the lineup, and he's giving them good minutes.
Unbelievable. He's always been a competitor. I didn't get an opportunity to coach him. He had left Detroit the previous year before I took over there. But the guys raved about him, one as a human being and then the competitor. God, I think it might have been Mike Fuda or someone. I was on one of these shows and they said if he was actually 6'3", it would be criminal. He'd get kicked out of the league. He plays so hard and plays with such an edge. But I think he's just the epitome of that entire decor. And again, you guys recall in those first two games in LA, they had Klingberg didn't play, and so they had some lefties on the right side. You could see, I think, Paul trying to get the D. You could see him struggling trying to get anything working and going. It just looked so uncomfortable. And I personally, I'm such a Matthias Ekholm fan. And, he's a winning hockey player. I think he's fifth in the league right now in active players and plus minus. He's an animal. And even over the last couple of years, the plus minus he racks up. He's just, as a coach, we call him a he's a winning hockey player. Yeah. And when he's out there, you're winning shifts, you're winning his minutes, and you're usually winning hockey games. He's a remarkable. I had that experience, and people don't realize Ryan McDonough was that when we had our Stanley Cup runs in Tampa. People just don't understand how important that is. So I thought they were in trouble. And for just the whole decor to come around like they did, to kind of play with themselves and everyone to kind of step in and kind of maybe I wouldn't say so much overachieve, but kind of play to the top of their potential. It's made this team where they're at, and it's been impressive to watch.
Derek, how surprised? Carolina's down 3-0. How surprised are you? I know they missed Chatfield, they missed Walker. Svechnikov's got one assist in 3 games, but how surprised are you? They're down 3-0.
I'm surprised they're down 3-0. Florida can do that to you. Florida gets rolling. They get rolling downhill. That center depth, the swagger and attitude they play with. You get Bob, and that's a complete team. It's the best team, I feel, when it's hitting on all cylinders. But so is Carolina. And I think, sometimes against a team like that, you kind of just get smacked in the nose and you don't really have an answer. I think the frustrating part about game 3 there was they had a really good 40 minutes and just uncharacteristically the easy offense they gave up in that third period. The odd mans, the turnovers, that's just not who they are. It's not what they are under Rod. So I think it's a frustrated group. I understand it. So yeah, very surprised at 3-0. Not in Florida. Florida is an absolute wagon when they're clicking all cylinders, but Carolina is a heck of a team too, and hard to play against. So I was a little surprised that's at 3-0.
Talking with Derek Lalonde. Love your work on Hockey Night in Canada, Derek, but how soon before we see you back behind a National Hockey League bench?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm in no rush on any of those. Kind of the very fortunate with the relationship with Sportsnet, them inviting me to do the first round there. I kind of did it to see if TV might be something, I wouldn't say buy myself time, but something I might dig into for a little bit. So I am a coach. I think that's why it's gone so well on Sportsnet. They know what I am. I'm an X's and O's guy. We'll let Elliot and Kevin Bieksa take care of all the entertainment. I'll be the stiff, boring X's and O guys to complement them. So we'll see. I'm certainly in no rush. But we'll see how the summer plays out.
Derek, I hope I can ask you this, but have you been approached by the Canucks for the head coaching role, and they still have a couple of assistant coaching jobs available as well?
No, I have not.
Okay.
And I think, they kind of went internally there, which I think would be a great hire. No, probably not something. I like the Midwest. My family's at a good age where I just had a graduate in high school.
Nice.
I got a kid going into grade 11 and a daughter going into grade 9. So the geographics and the fit, I know it sounds crazy, but it was very unique situation. First time getting fired. I know my peers that have all been fired 5, 6 times in this league. They kind of laughed at me, and that it's more of a badge of honor in the reality of our profession. But I did was able to spend a ton of time. Like people said, the next 4 or 5 months after getting let go would be very rewarding, and it was. I was around for every kid event possible, and it was rewarding. So we'll see again where the summer plays out.
You don't want to come here. The media is way too hard on people, according to the Canucks. Hey, Derek, one thing, you had this a very interesting quote after 2.5 seasons in Detroit. You said something to the effect, and I hope I'm getting this right, that Steve Yzerman made you better. What did you mean by
Absolutely.
that? What do you mean by that?
He's a competitor. He's a very intense human being. He's probably a perfectionist. He expects some perfection. It's probably no different. I was probably no different than he pushed his teammates or his team when he was captain of the Red Wings and taking 14 years to win a Stanley Cup. He was just very demanding, and it was just the way he operates and why he's an icon in our sport. And he forced me to be better, and he did that every off season. And it made me better, and I appreciate my experience and time with him.
Derek, thanks so much for doing this. I don't think you're going to have any problems finding a job in television if the hockey thing doesn't work out, and I'm sure that will as well. But I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it anytime.
You bet.